I'm just going to get started because I'm conscious of time, and one of my colleagues will continue to let people join us as the morning progresses. Thank you very much for coming along today. We're delighted to see you all and to have such enthusiasm for the Geospatial Network Integrator, known as Location Data Scotland. Today I just want to give you an overview of Location Data Scotland, and also to introduce our speakers and some of our stakeholder partners that we're working closely with. But just before we get started, could I just kind of raise some housekeeping aspects? Because we are expecting quite a volume of delegates this morning, could I please ask everyone to turn off your microphones and to turn off your cameras? That just means that, fingers crossed, we don't have any technical glitches. We also want to encourage you to use the chat box, so please introduce your business and what you want to achieve from being part of the Location Data Scotland community. Further into my presentation, we will also begin to discuss events. So we have a plan of sector-focused events, and we would like to get some feedback from you all on that, and we're using Mentimeter to do that. There'll be an active link which I'll raise once I get to the relevant slides, but one of my colleagues has also shared the details and the voting code in the chat box again. When we get to the kind of final stages of this morning's events, we really want to kind of encourage you to share your comments and share your feedback. This is an opportunity for you all to shape the network going forward. So please do raise your questions and comments and use the comment box, the chat box, to do that. In terms of the structure of today, so I'll give an overview, as I said, of Location Data Scotland, then we'll move on and some of the project funding partners will be presenting. So first up we have Alan Corbett from Scottish Government, and he'll present Scotland's geospatial strategy. We'll then move on to the Geospatial Commission, and we have Abigail Page joining us today. Abigail will tell us a bit more about the work of the Commission, but also begin to highlight some innovative uses of geospatial. Then we move on to the next section of the agenda, which begins to introduce some of the stakeholder partners that we're working with. So we have Alan Moore from AGI Scotland, and we also have David Ferguson from ScotlandIS. They'll talk a bit more about their respective organisations and how we can work together to really develop the geospatial sector in Scotland. We'll then move on to the discussion section, and again, really keen for you all to kind of use the chat box to comment and share your feedback. And then we'll try to finish sharp. I'm very aware that there's a minute's silence to mark 1 year of the pandemic, so we're really going to try to finish on time to allow everyone to mark that accordingly. So to kick things off, I'll get started. So I'll just give a bit of background to the context, both to ourselves at Optimat, but also to Location Data Scotland. So Optimat is our organisation. We are strategy consultants. We work at the interface of public, private and academic sectors, and really we help clients to generate wealth from new technologies and exploit new markets. But we come with a very strong data track record, so we've been working with Scottish Government and Scottish Enterprise for about 10 to 12 years now, really kind of exploring the strategic development activities of data in Scotland, and that's included some benchmarking and supply chain mapping exercises. But most recently, many of you will be aware that we carried out a geospatial consultation on behalf of Scottish Enterprise in 2019. And really what we were doing there was testing the water to see if there was an appetite to develop a cluster such as Location Data Scotland. And needless to say, the findings from that was that yes, there was a very positive appetite for it. That's why we're here now. So we have 3 funding partners: Scottish Enterprise, Scottish Government and the Geospatial Commission. And they've come together in partnership to fund this network integrator. And in 2019, what we discovered from the consultation was that Scotland's actually got a very healthy geospatial sector, but there's lots of activities happening in silos, and really The network integrator has been developed to provide a focal point for the sector, but also to begin to piece the pieces of the jigsaw together really and work with our partners and the wider ecosystem to do that. So what are the aims of Location Data Scotland? We aim to be an inclusive geospatial community in Scotland. We want to help organisations to unlock the value in location data, and we'll do this by connecting, informing and facilitating collaboration between industry, academia, public and the third sector. We're taking a cross-sectoral approach. We want to help all sectors to drive innovation, to unlock skills and to enable economic growth. The purpose is very much to leverage location data. We want it to be an enabler of innovation and to work with and help and support companies to create greater efficiencies in developing products and services right across Scotland, and again both from the public and private and academic perspective. But why should you get involved? What are the benefits of being involved in this network? Well, as I say, we're here. The purpose of it is to help organisations to collaborate, to innovate, to unlock skills, to help find new customers and to drive economic growth. And we can do that by building this community and working in partnership and in collaboration. But there's also the benefit of being part of this wider inclusive community. We can help to raise awareness of the insights that data holders and data processors can bring to a range of different sectors. But we can also help you by supporting and signposting you to relevant support, relevant funding opportunities. And I'll touch upon this more in a future slide in terms of how we're delivering that. But really, we can use the insights from the community to help inform and help shape government policy. We can influence academic research and we can attract inward investment into Scotland. In terms of how we're delivering the network, we are working against three main pillars. So the first pillar is really the pillar where the focus has been for the last few months. Many of you will be aware that we kicked off the project at the end of October, and much of the focus has been on this initial engagement with organisations within the sector, with stakeholders within the sector. So we're taking a network of networks approach, working in partnership with other stakeholders in this space. So we're working at this stage to kind of have introductory calls. We've attended a number of events. We've had this huge push on social media with our LinkedIn group and Twitter. This is really beginning to kind of help us understand who's out there and who wants to be part of the network. Then we'll move into the second pillar of activity, and that's us really getting into the nitty-gritty. That's us actually beginning to deliver that network integrator role, and that's about us working on a one-to-one basis with you, the organisations within the network. And we'll do this in two ways. So the first method here will be an online survey, and that will be released in April. And really that helps us to gather some baseline information, and building on that we'll then move into a phase of one-to-one detailed consultations. And from these, what we're wanting to learn and to gather is what are the geospatial capabilities of organisations in Scotland, what are their challenges, what are their needs, what are their growth aspirations from an R&D and innovation perspective. We'll use all of this information to map the supply chain in Scotland, and we'll also build up this directory of capability. Sorry. And then we will use that directory of capability to move into the third pillar, and that's us providing the support. So providing support in terms of facilitating these connections and introductions, and really encouraging collaboration within the community. There's also a number of other support activities and signposting activities within this pillar. So we'll signpost to wider support. That may be from, for example, Scottish Enterprise, from Interface, from Innovate UK, to work with innovation centres, for example. We'll also signpost to funding opportunities, and we'll also be signposting to market research and market intelligence, and sharing case studies through this pillar as well. And these three pillars, the outputs of this is this organic, growing, engaged network of stakeholders and organisations within the geospatial community. It's this network of partners that are engaged in supporting the community. And all of that will be backed up by a knowledge hub, which will be made available on our website, which the details will be shared of shortly. I've mentioned this network of network approach. Many of you will already be aware that we have taken a network of network approach so far, and we want to continue to take that. We want this to be a collaborative partnership approach to building the community. There's lots of great and exciting activities happening within the sector. We want to support those, and we want to work with and in partnership with other organisations. So if you are an organisation out there, please do get in touch with us. All the details have been shared in the chat box in terms of how you can get in touch, and we're more than happy to work in partnership going forward. So what have we been doing? What have we been up to over the last few months? It's been a busy few months, I can share that with you, that's for sure. One of our main activities has been establishing the LinkedIn group. We now have over 200 members there. This is our main communication channel with the community at the moment. There's a great range and a very much a cross-sectoral membership within that group. We would encourage you all to join it if you haven't already. The details again will be in the chat box, and we would encourage you to interact and network with one another within that group. We've also engaged directly on a one-to-one basis with more than 80 organisations so far, and as I say, that will continue as we move into the second pillar of activity. Many of you will have seen me virtually out and about at a number of conferences and webinars over the last few months. We also supported and featured in Tech UK's Geospatial Week, and very excitingly, we have also signed a memorandum of understanding with CodeClan, which we're really excited about. One of our main workshops that we'll be hosting as part of Vacation Data Scotland is a specific workshop on skills. We want to get an understanding of what the challenges are within this space. Again, that was highlighted in the 2019 consultation. So we're going to work with CodeClan to tap into a wider audience there. We also want to work internationally, so this is a Scottish network, but we also want to learn and make introductions further afield. So we have already established a relationship with Aerospace Valley in France, and Thaddeus joined us today as well, and we'll build on those relationships going forward. We've also formed our advisory group. We had our first informal kind of get together last week to say hello to one another. The advisory group is also reflective of this inclusive community that we want to create, so it's very much cross-sectoral representation there as well. One of the big activities that we've been focusing on is our comms and kind of key messages and our marketing side of things. And what we've been working on is this sector-focused calendar of events. And that's something which I'll come on to in a minute, because we want to get your feedback and your ideas for events as well. So it's been an incredibly busy few months. There's much more to come. We've got lots of exciting activities planned. But in the short term, what are our next steps? As I say, moving into the second pillar of activity, we'll be carrying out the online survey and the one-to-one consultations. This capability directory that we're building as a result of this exercise will enable us to facilitate connections and introductions, but also to really build up relationships with the organisations within the community. We will also be carrying out some research in terms of horizon scanning, again, as I say, identifying what other clusters are out there internationally that we can work with and learn from. And as I say, the kind of short-term focus is on building this calendar of events, but we want to make sure that that meets your needs and that it meets the demand of the network members. So we're very keen to get your involvement. We're using Mentimeter today to run a poll. So the sector events that we have planned are travel and tourism, space, construction and climate change, environment, planning and built environment. Also looking at a more generic event where we can demystify geospatial for those sectors that perhaps aren't already familiar with it. This is an active live link, so you can click on that and copy and paste the voting code from the chat. and we're keen to hear from you. So you can use the scale to rank your level of interest in these events, but you can also use the open question to give us some ideas on what other types of events you would be interested in going forward. As I say, our main communication channel at the moment is the LinkedIn group. Again, the links have been shared in the chat box, so if you haven't already, feel free to go and join there. We're also active on Twitter, and we have our website developed as well. So the links are all there and will be shared for you. So as I say, we really want you to engage with us using all of these methods. So just to summarise, Location Data Scotland, we are an inclusive geospatial community in Scotland, so we want to unlock the value of location data. We want to raise awareness about the insights that data holders and data processors can bring to key sectors, and we really want to work with you and support you regardless of what stage you're at in terms of discovering location data. We're here to help, we're open, we're all flexible and approachable, so please do get in touch. We need your support and engagement to build this community, so please do get involved. Thank you very much for giving me the time this morning to kind of give you the overview of it. I see that there's lots of activity happening in the chat box as well, so I'll monitor that, and we'll, as I say, we'll move into the discussion phase later on in the morning. But for now, we want to move on to our speakers. So our first speaker is Alan Corbett from Scottish Government. So I'll just introduce Alan whilst I prepare his slides. So Alan heads up Scottish Government's GIS and analysis team, and he's going to share with us today the work that's been done on the geospatial strategy, Scotland's geospatial strategy. And I'm just loading his slides for him just now. So I hope you can all see that, and I'll hand over to Alan.
Thanks, Ashley. Morning, folks. Hope everybody's well and keeping safe. As Ashley kindly pointed out there, I'm Alan Corbett. I head up the Geographic Science and Analysis team, or GSAT as probably most of you know, within Scottish Government. I've worked in the geospatial industry for some 25 years. And the purpose of today is to go through the geospatial roadmap for Scotland. So the purpose of the roadmap is to define the vision, future direction of Scotland's geospatial information. The roadmap shall reflect the strategic priorities and also address and review these priorities going forward, enabling the roadmap to become an agile document aligned with Scotland's digital strategy, the AI strategy, and Scotland's national outcomes as they develop and change over time. We believe that the traditional 5-year strategy plan is no longer feasible, as the demand from government and industry for timely, robust geospatial data and services is changing at pace. You only need to look at the last year and how the collective response to COVID pandemic has impacted on that, with geospatial at the centre of the government's response in terms of analytics, informed decision making, and also determining in such things as determining the initial spread of the virus, the restrictions implied in people's mobility in terms of local and national lockdowns, local analysis provisions in terms of regional testing stations, and also the spatial distribution of Scotland's vaccine centres, to name a few. So this is the kind of the introduction of why we've done this. The next slide, Ashley, slide 2, is the rationale. So the rationale here we try to put some context into where the roadmap will actually fit in. So Scotland already has a number of wide strategies and legislative challenges that are relevant to the geospatial data. These existing strategies collectively set out the principles on data and innovation, and our roadmap will align with these. The new digital strategy for Scotland, which was launched 2 weeks ago, A Changing Nation, How Scotland Will Thrive in a Digital World, aims to transform the public sector following a digital ecosystem approach, managing and sharing data in a way that's key to unlocking innovation and stimulating new ideas. The digital strategy identifies the geospatial network integrator as an enabler to bring together public, academic and private sector organisations to deliver a more cohesive, collaborative and organised sector that are actively engaging with key customers in developing new businesses and delivering economic growth. The UK-wide Geospatial Commission was established in 2017 to improve the quality of key publicly held data and make it easier to use. By doing so, it is estimated that the Commission will unlock up to £1 billion of extra value to the UK economy each year. The AI strategy for Scotland launched yesterday, so these are just hot off the press. Looks at how Scotland will be smarter in the delivery of its public sector through the use of AI data. Scotland's economic strategy sets out the approach for increasing competitiveness and tackling inequality in Scotland. Two of the 4 priority areas are on investing in people and infrastructure and fostering a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship and research and development. We move on now to the National Geospatial Strategy, which was launched in 2020. Overall vision is that by 2025 the UK will have a coherent national location data framework, using location as the connection between things, systems, people and the environment. Future technologies will be underpinned by data about events occurring at a place and time. The overarching strategy sets out how the UK will unlock the power of location data, with Scottish PSGA members playing a significant part in defining and influencing the Commission on the UK strategy and its challenges. This was done from the feedback we received from OSMA members back in 2018 when we canvassed all members as part of a consultation and engagement process. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for your input. It's been very well received. We're also actively considering how we build on this platform presented by the digital strategy on geospatial, and how we can develop the recommendations for the Logan report for innovation, digital and tech in the geospatial sector. We have also recently asked the geospatial community for Scottish subject matter experts to support the development of an improved specification around location products and services, with a longer term view to export this knowledge both nationally and internationally. We propose that the Scottish Geospatial Roadmap just sits below the UK strategy, feeding into the portfolio of work, but noting that Scotland may prioritise and value different aspects of this in the delivery of our programme for government and national outcomes. The roadmap will act as an operational geospatial roadmap for Scotland. Slide 3, our vision and main drivers. So this is where we think we're going in terms of this. The overarching vision is that Scotland's geospatial data will be used to its fullest potential, ultimately saving time, money and lives. Scotland's Geospatial Roadmap will build on the ambition and approaches of the wider strategies mentioned previously to make connections between people, places and things in order to achieve this vision. We must improve our data so that it meets high standards of quality, ensuring that workforces have the appropriate skills to use it, and ensure that we develop an environment that encourages innovation and collaboration of community members to maximise the benefits. The Scottish Government's purpose is to focus on creating a more successful country with opportunities for all of Scotland to flourish through increasing well-being, sustainability and inclusive economic growth, with geospatial playing an integral part of this. Slide 4, Ashley, on work streams. The roadmap will work to achieve our vision of geospatial data through a number of work streams, mainly data skills, innovation and collaboration. These have been identified through analysis and feedback received from stakeholders of part of the engagement process that I touched on earlier. So I'll just take them in order as they come. So data focuses on housekeeping and geospatial data within the public sector, continually improves the discoverability, accessibility and quality of the data we hold. Generally, we look to follow the FAIR principles here, that our data is findable, accessible, interoperable and reusable. Move on to skills concerned with the geospatial data talent pool. How can we improve the capacity and capability? This is something that we regularly discuss in cross-sector events and meetings, and consider how we can upskill in both existing and future workforces. Innovation and collaboration. The final two streams are about creating a demand and economic conditions that stimulate the market through fostering innovation and collaborative projects. We also see these work streams not being static. They will be regularly reviewed to ensure their relevance and alignment to the wider strategies, evolving to reflect progress, emerging issues and trends as they develop. Slide number 5, so we'll just take these as they come again. Data. Each workstream will have a number of sub-themes which support activities that will take place. The data workstream currently has 3 substreams: discoverability, reusability and management of the geospatial data. The discoverability works to ensure that our geospatial data is findable. After all, potential users will only be able to decide if a particular data set is useful to them if they can find it. Activities here focus on increasing the investment, promotion and utilisation of geospatial data portals such as spatialdata.gov.scot. An example here is the recent work that we have done to improve the discoverability of our metadata on spatialdata.gov through search engine optimization. As many potential users are using search engines such as Google to look for data, it is imperative that we make records available on spatialdata.gov.scot visible to these searches. As a result of this, we're already seeing an increase in our data sets as a result. Secondly, we are also implementing the latest version of UK Gemini metadata standards to improve the quality and consistency of our metadata, ensure that it's consumable with all range of platforms. Reusability. Here we are working to make sure that our data and accessibility and interoperable as possible. Thanks to directives such as Inspire, the geospatial community are actually quite far advanced in terms of providing data using standard protocols of WMS, WFS. However, there is more work to be done to ensure that the analytical ready and greater interoperability of data. Key activities in the stream will look at decreasing inconsistency in key data sets. For example, the development of a work plan to apply common schemas for data sets such as common location gazetteer or the mandating of UPRNs, sorry, beg your pardon. Storage, collection and management. Geospatial data is an asset that's value lies in connecting with other types of data. To realise this value, we must also improve the way in which it's collected, stored and managed. Decreasing local storage of data and increasing accessibility of resource via cloud platforms which offer stability and robustness with potential cost savings. On behalf of the Scottish sector, the Scottish Government already procures a range of commercial services whereby members of the PSGA agreement currently access data available via web services. This data services are collectively referred to as the PSGA web services and provide the benefits to member organisations such as instant access to the most up-to-date OS data available under the PSGA, a cost-effective solution to supporting and serving GIS data through reducing reliance on organisations' own IT infrastructures, increasing the range of data that's made available by this route to include other data, i.e. BGS data, aerial photography, satellite imagery, just to name a few. I'll move on to slide 6, which is workstream skills. Skills workstream recognises the use of geospatial data. As the use of geospatial data increases, so does the demand for skills and expertise of the GIS professional. This consensus view is that there's geospatial skills shortage both here in Scotland and also nationally at a UK level, with a focus on combining geospatial with data science skills. Additionally, geospatial knowledge must be communicated to a broader range of staff so that members and decision makers can understand the use of GIS as evidence-based approaches to decision making. With regards to existing workforces, activity here will be centred around professional development opportunities and development of geospatial communities and centres of excellence. Existing models for knowledge transfer will be explored. We are also engaging with technical colleges regards possible introduction of GIS technicians courses, and will feedback the process and will feedback progress through the AGI Scotland as it develops over time. In terms of future workforce, the aim is to increase the awareness of MSc student sponsorship already being offered, i.e. Edinburgh Uni, Data Lab, etc., and to work with further education, industry and public sector to develop and promote career pathways in geospatial, potentially a modern apprenticeship approach. It should also be noted that outreach at primary, secondary and post-secondary schools has already taken place, with many organisations hosting school children for work experience. However, it is well recognised that an increased activity in providing data literacy in the wider community should also be explored. Slide number 7, Innovation Workstream. The Innovation Workstream will look to drive innovation and entrepreneurship within the geospatial data. The UK and Scottish governments have already begun to look at how they can increase the innovation use of geospatial across public and private sectors to unlock economic growth in the UK's geospatial data assets. The principle being here that we make more of our rich public sector data open for social and economic good. This will support and attract investment and innovation. There have been a lot of successes in this area, such as CivTechs, and have attracted international interest, and we also must build on that reputation in the geospatial sector. We also need to look at new and innovative ways to encourage businesses to promote innovation and public services and stimulate our economy. Activities for this workstream will look at and increase our investment opportunities for industry. An example here, engaging with the UK Geospatial Commission to capitalise on Scotland's leading position around data-driven innovation and geospatial. We also need to increase the example programmes to explore geospatial data innovation. The creation of the Geospatial Network Integrator role to develop and grow commercial geospatial clusters in Scotland will also help this. They will look at Scottish companies to raise awareness of the applications and benefits of geospatial data, drive innovation, sustainability, investment, with the ultimate aim of achieving economic growth in Scotland. Slide number 8, collaboration. The collaboration workstream will focus on partnerships and collaboration between public and sector, industry and academia. As previously mentioned, the Scottish Network Integrator will also allow us to increase our understanding of partner activities and will address any blockers to collaboration. Additionally, the Scottish Science Advisory Council have commissioned a project, Geospatial Knowledge Approaches, Analytics and a prediction for blue and green Scottish economy, with an aim of making a recommendation on how improved collaboration between public, private and academic bodies going forward. Collaboration in regards to the Scottish public sector in order to share data effectively depends on common licensing, which can be achieved through national collaborative procurements. Collaborative procurements and projects offer great opportunities for partnership, but they must be cost effective in their support of targeted public services. As you know, there are already a number of collective agreements in place for spatial data, including the Public Sector Geospatial Agreement. We've also got one with Royal Mail and Aerial Photography APGB as well. Significant savings are to be had in adopting a collaborative approach to procuring national data sets, with an estimated 20% saving overall. We need to continue identifying future geospatial requirements across all relevant public sector organisations, so that organisations' data can be acquired once and used multiple times. This will involve working closely with the Geospatial Commission and acting as a coordinator for the Scottish public sector organisations going forward. Move on to slide 9, the governance. As mentioned at the outset, the intention of the Scottish Geospatial Roadmap is that it will be an agile plan that can flex as priorities and needs change. It will be kept up to date as a public sector document with activities recorded in an activity log. The roadmap will be governed by the Scottish Geospatial Assurance Group, which will consist of 68 industry experts from differing geospatial backgrounds and sectors. The Assurance Group will review the document on a biannual basis, updating activities and product owners as they develop, while reviewing work streams to ensure continued engagement and alignment with wider Scottish and UK strategies, such as the digital strategy and the AI strategy for Scotland. And that's me. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Alan. It's great to see that Scotland's developing this geospatial strategy and that we can take things forward for the sector. I see that there's lots of chat happening in in the chat box, which is great. Lots of enthusiasm for collaboration, which is fantastic. Our next speaker is Abigail from the Geospatial Commission. So Abigail's going to tell us a wee bit more about the work of the Commission and also begin to explore some innovative uses of geospatial. So I'll hand over to you now, Abigail.
Hi, Ashley, thank you. Just checking you can see my slides, okay?
Yes, we can, yep.
Great, thank you. I did that once. I launched in and nobody could see what I was talking about, so just checking. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's just fantastic to be here today at the community launch of Location Data Scotland. Obviously, we would love it if we could meet you all in person and have a coffee and a biscuit, but it's great to see all of the activity happening in the chat, and we're just really proud and excited to be one of the 3 partners that are supporting the development of this network and cluster in Scotland. My name is Abigail Page. I'm the Head of Innovation and Skills in the Geospatial Commission. I've just been having a look at the chat and just thinking through the other presentations. Perhaps we haven't said enough about geospatial in itself. So before I launch into the presentation, I just kind of jotted a few notes around what I think is fantastic about geospatial. So for those of you who are perhaps coming new to this today or looking for kind of opportunities about how you can use this technology in your business, I think what's fantastic is the way that geospatial can represent the world around us in a digital form. So really, I think, beautiful, data-rich landscape from elements of the world around us that we can see, from data that's taken from space, things that are more difficult for us to see, like underground assets or journeys that people make, and the way that we can model that. But then also, I guess the other side is just how we apply geospatial thinking or kind of the understanding of location to use that as a kind of common reference system that helps us join up all of these different types of information and helps us to integrate it, interrogate it, understand what's going on, and create like really great value from that data for businesses and for society. And something that I've always been motivated about is around that potential and the scale that geospatial can be used at, from local level, how our streets are planned, how we're kind of interacting our day-to-day kind of world and life, to some of the most challenging kind of global issues of our time around things like net zero, emerging from a pandemic. So I just thought I'd just add that flavour before I dive into the presentation. It's an area that I'm really enthusiastic about. I've spent my career in geospatial. I still live in Scotland, and I'm just really energised to see the work that's underway to unlock the geospatial innovation here in Scotland. I know what a vibrant and imaginative tech community there is that we can connect into. So back to my presentation. So I'm going to talk about three different things today. One is the UK's geospatial strategy and the importance of collaboration for delivering that. The second is about enabling innovation and how the Commission can support businesses to maximise the use of geospatial. And then the third is some innovation activities, examples of what we're supporting in the Geospatial Commission. Again, just to give you a flavour of how geospatial can be deployed. You just run my slides on. Yep. So why geospatial? Why now? So we're in what many are calling the 4th industrial revolution. We have an abundance of data. There's new technologies, new kind of consumer interests around kind of how that data is used, and it's a real opportunity for location data and capabilities. That includes new ways of capturing data, as I've mentioned, from space, aerial imagery, sensors on infrastructure, sensors on ourselves, on our phones, and understanding kind of real-time data and how we use that. And really the kind of ubiquitous use of that data, the value of geospatial is really as a component technology that can be used across a lot of different sectors and organisations. I'm sure many of you have already heard about the Geospatial Commission, but again, in case some of you are new coming to this, the Geospatial Commission was established in 2018 by the UK government as an expert committee within the Cabinet Office. We have an independent board of commissioners, and we're formally linked to 6 geospatial partner bodies. All have great, fantastic data if you're looking for things that you can use and integrate into your applications. So British Geological Survey, the Coal Authority, UK Hydrographic Office, the Land Registry, Ordnance Survey, and the Valuation Office Agency. But we are also working really closely with devolved administration. So, for example, we're working very closely with Scotland on when we developed our strategy for the UK, and also supporting activities right across the UK with a wide range of partners. In terms of what we do, we hold the budget for the public sector's largest investment in geospatial data. Alan mentioned that, the public sector geospatial agreement. We also make targeted investments in data projects that are going to accelerate the innovation and adoption of the application of geospatial data. And we also set the UK's geospatial strategy and policy. The UK Geospatial Strategy, as Alan mentioned, was launched last summer in June 2020, and it's about setting a 5-year vision that will have a coherent national location data framework underpinning a flourishing digital society. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this. You can pick that up as well from our website. But alongside the vision, just to point out that the strategy identifies 9 key location data opportunities. So these are areas where we see that geospatial could be more effectively deployed. They're obviously not exhaustive, but I'm sure some of those cover some of the areas that were being mentioned in the chat and some of the businesses that have joined us today. And we also outline 4 missions, and really the missions are the blueprint for how we're going to make that vision become a reality. Just to say that this is the UK strategy, it's not the Geospatial Commission strategy, and we do really need a lot of collaboration and join up to see this vision realised. I'm not going to read out all of the missions either, but what I really want to focus on today is mission 4, which is enabling innovation. Obviously, to make sure that we can enable innovation, we need to have the strong foundations underlying that. So you'll see in our other missions around kind of promoting, safeguarding the use of data, improving access to data, enhancing skills and capabilities. All of those things are of equal importance to us in the Commission. But given the context today, I really wanted to focus on the innovation side. So in terms of innovation, what do we mean by that? So innovation is the ability to develop new ideas, but also to deploy them. So it's really a fundamental driver of improving productivity and also creating sustainable economic growth. And we think there's a huge opportunity to accelerate geospatial innovation. Our mission in this area is to maximise the commercial opportunities for innovation and to promote market-wide adoption of high-value emerging location technologies. In order to do that, we are going to join problems together with innovators. We want to create spaces and tools to encourage innovation, and we are keen to support specific projects that will drive investment and drive commercial activity. I'm going to move on to what's probably the more interesting parts of the presentation, which is just some examples of our innovation and kind of project commitments, so you can get a flavour of how we're doing that. But first, one of our innovation commitments is definitely the Location Data Scotland initiative that's being launched today. We know, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's a very vibrant geospatial community in Scotland, but the need was identified for introduction of a more focused cluster or network to help grow the sector in Scotland. We see the opportunity for the collaboration in Scotland to really enhance the use and the value of how the location-based geospatial data can be used, and really keen to support that network, kind of boost the collaboration and develop, supply chain and signposting kind of growth opportunities as well. Just when I was drafting this, I just thought a really important thing to pull out, and it's quite important for me when I think about Location Data Scotland, is that we know the geospatial community is fairly well connected, those of us that are working in it. But what's really important here is that we need to strive to connect with those who might be on the edges of our community or kind of further outside and bring them in. We need to really make sure that everyone knows what geospatial is and the value that it can bring to sectors and industries. So this isn't an inward-looking initiative by any means. It's about spreading the message, connecting with others, and bringing that value kind of across Scotland. The Geospatial Commission really want to learn about the emergence of this network and this cluster that we're supporting. We want to learn from the best innovators on how they're deploying geospatial in Scotland. We want to see how businesses seize this opportunity to unlock value from and with geospatial to grow and be successful. So we absolutely want to support, but we're also here to learn as well. And please do feel free to kind of get in touch with us, and we'll be following really closely on the progress. Wanted to touch on some other areas of our work in the Commission, again to give you a flavour of what we're supporting in terms of innovation and also collaboration. One of our big recent projects that's still ongoing is our transport competition. So I mentioned earlier there were 9 key location data opportunities that we identified in the strategy, and transport is one of those. And we're currently undertaking projects to really accelerate the innovation and adoption of geospatial data applications here. We partnered with Innovate UK to create a £2 million competition that we launched towards the end of last year to look at how location data can spark innovation and support the future of mobility for the UK. And we had 4 themes. So again, just to help you think about areas where geospatial could be deployed, this covered mobility as a service, so helping kind of better integration of different modes of transport. Active travel, creating safer ways for people to use different forms of active travel. Supply chain to help improve distribution, storage, delivery, and boosting capacity. So how can we increase the efficiency of UK transport networks? We received nearly 200 applications for the competition, so clearly there's a lot of innovators out there with some fantastic ideas. We selected 28 of those for support to develop feasibility studies for their ideas, so that's the first stage to realise their projects. And just to give you an idea of a sample of some of the projects include things such as use of CCTV as sensors to support safer travel, AI technology to optimise low emission vehicle fleets, analysis of shipping movements to support wind farm developments, a micro logistics platform to optimise last mile deliveries. There's a huge list and a huge amount of variation in there. You can read more about them on our website, but again, it's an area of innovation we're really excited about. We see the competition as really driving innovation to solve some of the transport challenges that have been identified and modernise services. And it's a really key part to delivering our commitment on economic, societal impact, but also environmental impact as well. So just a bit of a flavour of that competition, and we'll be talking more about that as our projects conclude their feasibility studies over the next couple of weeks. And then one other area that I wanted to highlight in terms of opportunities for geospatial and innovation, and perhaps one that we don't always think about what's going on under the ground, but the Commission's been working closely with key partners, including the Greater London Authority, Ordnance Survey, and owners of underground assets, utilities, and we've completed 2 successful pilot projects in London and the North East to create a register of underground assets. The pilots have provided really critical evidence to us that a national register is feasible and it will unlock considerable value. And we're currently in the preparation stage ahead of procurement for a regional build and national rollout. So again, I think it's a really nice example of where achieving kind of collective ambition is really needing that kind of collaboration and the opportunity to connect data, connect people, and connect systems up. So there's some examples for you of geospatial innovation. I just wanted to kind of finally conclude by saying, you know, it's really important to put geospatial innovation into the context of the times that we're in. So the government has published recently a Build Back Better plan. It highlights the importance of innovation to stimulate economic recovery across the whole of the UK. Innovation is one of those 3 core pillars of growth. Next year, the government's going to be investing 14.6 billion in research and innovation, grants, facilities, and across a number of key sectors where there's a lot of opportunity for innovation, innovative uses of geospatial location data, from you know, digital twins, clean energy, fintech, defence, life sciences. There's a lot in there, I think, for all of us to get excited about and engage with. So finally, just to conclude, you know, geospatial's got a really important role to play in UK's economic recovery, as I've just said, and the Geospatial Commission have highlighted in our strategy that the wider uptake and use of geospatial data has a potential to unlock 6 to 11 billion in economic value annually. That's only going to be realised if we continue to grow this geospatial ecosystem and collaborate and to influence all of the UK's major tech and industrial sectors. We really hope that Location Data Scotland will be a successful exemplar of some of these behaviours and really prove the positive impact of geospatial networks and clusters. But obviously, bit of a call to action. To make this a success, we need all of you on board. We see this as a huge opportunity for the UK, a huge opportunity for Scotland, but I think it's also a really huge opportunity for you. So we really encourage you to get involved, and we look forward to seeing the initiative flourish. Thank you, Ashley.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for sharing the examples there. There's great enthusiasm in the chat as well, so lots of positive collaboration and a few comments coming through, so we'll touch upon those once we move into the discussion section of the day. But I want to move on to our next speaker, and our next speaker is Alan Moore. Alan is representing AGI Scotland today, and he'll talk a bit more about the work of AGI and also how we can work together to develop the sector in Scotland. Alan, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, good morning. Thanks, Ashley. Just check you can see slides okay. Yep. Okay, morning everyone. Yeah, I wear a couple of different hats. My day job is the Chief Executive of a company called Thinkware, a geospatial business in Stirling. But today I'm delighted to be here representing the Association for Geographic Information at what is a pivotal event for the Scottish geospatial community. My aim this morning basically is to outline who the AGI is, what we do, our focus in Scotland, how we can support the work of Ashley and her team, and equally how Location Data Scotland can benefit AGI as well. I should start by saying that AGI enthusiastically welcomes and supports this initiative. It aligns very well with our own efforts and ambitions to foster an innovative, thriving and sustainable GI industry within Scotland, and building on the sort of proud tradition and pioneering reputation that we've got within the geospatial community that Alan Corbett mentioned earlier. So I've been working in the industry myself for the last 30 years or so, and I have to say that, like Abigail, this is, I think, the most exciting time in that whole period. I think we're seeing location data, geospatial technology and services increasingly pervade almost every industry sector, business and organisation, as well as our own personal, social and community lives as well. So Whether it's routing logistics, it's asset management, it's infrastructure, energy, education, social care, community planning, you name it. Location data directly or indirectly plays a pivotal role in forming decisions, improving efficiency, improving service delivery. Also at the macro scale as well. When we think about the issues, the big issues of the day around climate change, around biodiversity, around the drive towards sort of net zero, our sustainable development goals, and the growing sort of environmental and social governance agenda. All of these are integrally linked again to location data, but driving intelligence from that data to inform decisions in the future. And equally, when we look at the world of smart technologies, we're getting increasingly volumes of data through real-time sort of sensor-driven data feeds, through satellites, through smart devices, intelligent vehicles. Again, location data is really the essential glue that helps us link together people, it links together processes, it links together our activities, and genuinely tries to drive innovation and digital transformation, helping us, to inform future policy, to monitor implementation, and to target our resources more effectively. So it's against this exciting backdrop that AGI exists, and the AGI mission is very much to be a thriving geospatial community in the UK and actively supporting that sustainable future. And there are three sort of pillars of activity around AGI itself, and I think Ashley mentioned 3 pillars for LDS. So our 3 pillars are: 1, nurturing and connecting active GI communities. So that's very much about targeting and growing and developing those GI communities. And it's not just within the core geospatial industry itself, as Abby just touched on. It's very much about that broader church, and it's how we engage and proactively develop and build our membership and our outreach to those wider networks, or those wider professional bodies, those wider interest groups that are touching on geospatial in many different ways and forms at the moment. The second pillar, and it's been touched on by Alan earlier, it very much is about career and skills development. This is very much about how we nurture and develop the GI professional, not just of today, but of tomorrow, supporting professional development through our early careers network, through our CPD schemes, and putting on interesting and engaging events and opportunities for the exchange of experience and ideas amongst that professional community. And the third pillar is about thought leadership, basically to try and inspire current and future generations. There are many people who still really have limited awareness about the power and potential of geospatial. So a big part of the agenda is very much about providing that thought leadership to inspire current and future leaders and those involved or who are going to get involved in the industry about the power and the application of location data to help showcase innovation, to help provide industry insights, and extend our membership network across many other professional bodies and membership associations. And that's a key part of the AGI strategy, is to build these extended relationships through a wider network of engagement. A little bit more about AGI. So it's not a new kid on the block. It was established back in 1989, for those that can remember the kind of Lord Chorley report, and it fell out the back of there, and I can remember that. I was in the industry at that point. We are the biggest independent geospatial network in the UK with over 1,000 members, and that cuts right across private sector, public sector, academia, and a whole range of other interests. It's a volunteer network, so basically anyone who is involved with AGI on the committees, on the council, on the various regional and other national groups, we're all volunteers and generally trying to enable the benefits and return from geospatial and geographic information across the sector. So it's very much about trying to connect and develop these communities of interest across those different industry sectors and those different interest groups, driving the kind of leadership and insight across those groups, and trying to represent the views and the interests of the UK geospatial industry. We do a lot of that through organised events, national conferences, and other networking opportunities, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on, as well as a CPD programme to help with that career and professional skills development for those working within the industry. In terms of how AGI is organised, we have a central council comprising the directors of the association. And the network is very much supported by national groups that either have a geographic focus, so AGI Scotland for Scotland, AGI Cymru in Wales, Northern Ireland, and we also have cross-cutting national groups, the Early Careers Network and also the Standards Committee. And each of these national groups have an assigned director who sits on council. And I have the privilege of being the representative for AGI Scotland. And we're very pleased to be a key stakeholder in the Location Data Scotland initiative. So I touched on the sort of flagship events, and that's clearly in the virtual world, we're not meeting face to face. However, we are still running, very well attended virtually flagship events. We had one very recently in Scotland with over 200 delegates attending there. We have a UK national event called GeoCom, which again runs later in the year, around about November, December time. And the reach of these events is increasing beyond clearly just the UK territories, and we're now attracting international interest. And I think the current environment where we are all working virtually is clearly extending that reach and that capability to a much wider audience. So of particular relevance then to the Location Data Scotland initiative is AGI Scotland. So AGI Scotland itself aims to promote awareness on geographic information, to try and target that awareness in terms of how it could benefit the citizen, commerce and good governance across Scotland. To gain access to the Scottish and UK governments, and we've very much been working closely with Alan and his colleagues on the Geospatial Roadmap, to bring together those communities of interest who have a focus around geographic information within Scotland. To deliver targeted membership benefits to those Scottish members. So that may be again through targeted events, webinars and other outreach activity. And also to encourage AGI membership, so to grow that community of members within Scotland at the grassroots level across Scotland. Ultimately, we achieve that through an enthusiastic and inclusive executive committee. So there are 16 volunteers on the AGI Scotland committee, and it's a very strong cross-section of representation from the public sector, from private sector, from academia. So we have a very good suite of interests around that table, and therefore very good connections into those different industry sectors. In terms of AGI Scotland activities, well, I've touched on already the sort of flagship Scottish event, which some of you may have attended in the last few weeks. We also sponsor and co-host a series of seminars with Edinburgh University, and those seminars touch on a range of activities around GIS, around remote sensing, and other interests within there, so geoinformatics, and that's an event that's organised and sponsored with Edinburgh Earth Observatory. We also publish regular blogs and posts on the AGI website and through social media. Through that volunteer network we have within the core national group, we extend out then for outreach activity and engagement across the public sector and across the commercial and academic sectors, using that volunteer community to achieve integration across those different communities of interest. We have a strong focus on education and skills, and Alan very much touched on that as part of the Geospatial Roadmap, how we can nurture and develop geospatial within the curriculum, within sort of secondary and tertiary education. And Bruce Gittings, the chair of AGI Scotland, and a group within there are actively researching and looking into how we can improve and get that coherence, if you like, across that education community. We also have a range of events for the Early Careers Network in Scotland, where we're targeting sort of careers guidance and events for students emerging from university and college into professional roles. A big part of our work has been engaging with government, as I touched on earlier, and we're very pleased to have been involved with Alan and his colleagues looking at the development of the Scottish Government's Geospatial Roadmap and its inclusion now within the Scottish Government digital strategy, which is a great achievement to see geospatial being represented at the core of these strategies, as Alan highlighted earlier. Another thing we've been doing just in the last few months is also establishing an MOU with ScotlandIS. ScotlandIS is the Digital and Data Technology Membership Association for Scotland, and I won't say too much more about that because I'll be stealing David Ferguson's thunder, who's coming straight after me here. But the key fact, I think, for AGI is about building that outreach across that wider digital and data communities. So it's trying to extend that network of network model that Ashley touched on at the start of our presentation. And we recognise in Scotland that there are some major opportunities, both for ScotlandIS and AGI, to collaborate on joint activities and collectively support the work of the Location Data Scotland initiative itself. So just pulling that together in terms of how can AGI support Location Data Scotland? Well, we very much see ourselves as a key stakeholder within the initiative. We were involved in the early consultation work which led to the integrator model being established. So we can help LDS by promoting and raising awareness of LDS, by providing access to the AGI network. We've got a very strong and engaged community of members, which is continually growing and evolving and developing. So clearly we can provide access to that network. We can provide knowledge sharing and insight. We've got deep domain knowledge of, I think, the Scottish geospatial community and what's happening within the community. So we're keen to share that knowledge and that insight with Ashley and our colleagues as they move the priorities forward for Location Data Scotland. Market intelligence, we've got, again, a good ear to the ground in terms of what's happening across many different industry sectors, just given the volunteer network that we've got on the group. We can contribute to events and outreach activities, so we're very pleased to be asked to participate here today, and we would see that extending very much into the future. As Ashley's events programme unfolds, we're keen that AGI is involved and engaged in those activities, helping to provide further mentoring and support, and also a sounding board to Ashley and our colleagues as they start to develop and prioritise their activity in the future. So how we can support and maybe challenge some of that prioritisation in terms of value to the community. It's a two-way street because LDS can also help support AGI. As I say, AGI is very much a volunteer community of members. So this kind of prime intervention, if you like, from Location Data Scotland can very much help promote and raise awareness of AGI itself and clearly promote awareness about all the great things that are happening across the geospatial community. Can help signpost connections to AGI. So while we've got strong connections and strong outreach, that job is never done clearly. It's a very much an evolving community of interest. There are very much neighbouring spaces that AGI is not touching today that I'm sure Ashley and our colleagues will touch on as they move their initiative forward. So we're very keen to see those connections being signposted to AGI and help build our network and our communities of interest as well. Market intelligence, again, maybe will help inform where some of the interventions might be required, where AGI can help support and collaborate with Location Data Scotland to overcome some of those requirements. Equally, there's an open invite to LDS to sort of collaborate on AGI events and activities and help with our outreach and spread the word through there. And obviously help develop and target and grow a membership for AGI itself. We're very much an open community, we're a growing community, and we very much want to help support Location Data Scotland and engage with that membership going forward. I think overall, though, I think we want Location Data Scotland to help us to realise the potential benefits, the opportunities that geospatial can bring to Scotland PLC, to help drive innovation, as Abby touched on, to help improve our economic, environmental and social well-being through the application and use of location data. Finally, a sneaky plug, hope Ashley doesn't mind. So as well as today being the launch of Location Data Scotland, this week we are launching a new public website and membership portal for the Association for Geographic Information. So if you're not a member, please have a look. I encourage you all to join us if you're not already a member and get involved with the many opportunities to support and drive forward the UK's geospatial community and of course our activities in Scotland and the growing cross-industry collaborations that Location Data Scotland will bring. So I'll stop there and thank you very much.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Alan, that's great, and it's again just highlights the synergies that between Location Data Scotland and the stakeholders that already exist in the ecosystem. And as Alan said, we are very keen to work together to really kind of grow and showcase the sector in Scotland. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is David Ferguson from ScotlandIS, and David's going to explain a wee bit more about the work of ScotlandIS and also focus more on the data cluster, again with this view to how LDS can work with the cluster. So I'm just going to pull up David's slides just now. I'm just loading at the moment. And hopefully you can all see those now.
That's great, super. Thanks, Ashley. Just to check that you can hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yeah, perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, hello and good morning, everybody. My name is David Ferguson and I'm Head of Data at ScotlandIS. I'm delighted to be here this morning and to be involved in the launch event for Location Data Scotland. Within my role, I'm responsible for managing, promoting and developing the data cluster. Next slide, please, Ashley. And today, I'd like to, as part of the demonstration of our support for Location Data Scotland, I'd like to really give some background, as Ashley says, about the work that we do within the data cluster, about what Scotland is, what clusters are, and in particular what the data cluster is, and how the data cluster can be a benefit to people and organisations who engage with us. Next slide, please, Ashley. Sorry, bear with me a second. So ScotlandIS is a membership and cluster management organisation certified in cluster management excellence and focused on the promotion and development of Scotland's digital technologies sector. We're membership driven and our purpose is to add value to the organisations we engage with through improved networking and sector intelligence. We have a range of membership options based upon the size and type of organisation and the level of benefits and engagement required. In addition to the 300 plus core members from across the technology sector, including software development, IT services and telecommunications, ScotlandIS also manage the data and cyber clusters in Scotland. And combined, these give a total organisational reach in excess of the 1,000 mark. And this is before we include the wider involvement across industry, academia, government and other trade and economic development organisations, which ultimately takes the total to nearly 1,200 organisations based across Scotland. Next slide, please, Ashley. So, in the context of the level of reach and sphere of influence through ScotlandIS, I'd like to look at some of the core stats around ScotlandIS and its involvement in the digital tech sector. With around 60% of the 100,000 people employed in the sector currently employed by ScotlandIS member organisations and 62% of the sector GVA being created by those members, the market intelligence across the membership and across the parties engaging with us covers a significant share of the market and gives a great opportunity for an understanding of what's happening within the market. With a growth rate 50% higher than that of the overall economy and a top 5 ranking for export performance, the sector shows significant growth potential. And in the pre-COVID days, when we're all able to meet face to face and have a coffee and share a chat, ScotlandIS events attracted in excess of 6,000 attendees over the year. And we believe that moving forward, maximising the opportunity of a blended live and virtual events calendar will provide an excellent framework by which to meet and engage with new contacts and stimulate collaboration. Next slide, please, Ashley. So a membership overview with a core membership of over 350 organisations, ranging in size from startups to tech giants and everything in between. The fully searchable capability directory gives a great opportunity to identify potential trading partners and organisations where there's a potential for collaboration. Using ScotlandIS to facilitate relevant introductions can significantly reduce engagement times and accelerate the collaboration process. Next slide, please, Ashley. So, what is a cluster? Well, we use the following definition. And if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to read out exactly what we have there. So UK clusters serve as a platform for innovation and collaboration within their sector and geographic region, with the goal of developing the ecosystem and driving economic growth. They do this by providing opportunities for networking, knowledge exchange, sharing of best practice, and identification of opportunities for regional and ultimately national growth, whilst working across public, private sectors and academia. Next slide, please, Ashley. As a cluster organisation, ScotlandIS aligns to the European Cluster Excellence Initiative and has achieved silver accreditation for cluster management excellence. The initiative was launched in 2009 with the purpose of bringing recognised consistency within the management of clusters across Europe. Since then, there's been 1,383 clusters certified, mostly to a bronze level, and ScotlandIS are delighted to have achieved silver accreditation as one of only 132 clusters to have done so. Being aligned to a recognised and accredited international cluster management initiative enables cross-border collaboration and widens the reach of the cluster and widens the opportunity to engage and collaborate across borders. Next slide, please, Ashley. So how do we deliver within the cluster? How do we engage and make the cluster work? Well, running on from the theme of a number of the other speakers today, we have 3 delivery points. We have development activities within the cluster, which can be dropped into 3 delivery silos. Firstly, we have community. A community provides support for the creation, development and growth of new and existing businesses in the region, ensuring that the products and services being provided are relevant and based upon the needs of the cluster. It ensures that organisations within the cluster really belong there and have a core purpose that aligns with the objectives of the cluster. Secondly, we look at network. The creation of network supports the development of a healthy and diverse network of external connections, providing new and potentially complementary technologies to stimulate growth by evolution. It brings together collaborative organisations which offer potential benefit in achieving the long-term cluster objectives. And thirdly, we deliver through voice. The voice is raising the awareness of the community at a local, national and international level based upon the objectives of the cluster. It elevates the cluster profile by acting as a collective voice to promote positive activities, whilst at the same time being able to raise issues and concerns being faced by its members. Next slide, please, Ashley. So how do we do that? What activity do we do in order to deliver on those 3 verticals? Development and growth of the networks and communities are achieved through delivery of a number of activities. We have cluster community meetups, offering the opportunity for organisations with similar focus to discuss their sector-specific issues, identify common needs and share best practices. Cluster roundtables allow discussion with knowledge experts and learning around cluster-relevant topics. Cross-sector events provide engagement with organisations from out with the cluster and with potentially complementary technologies or services with a view to increasing efficiency of current offerings or highlighting new opportunity revenue streams. And in a similar vein to Dragon's Den, we offer cluster innovation clinics, and these clinics pull together an expert panel to which startups are able to hone their presentation skills, ask questions regarding specific business issues, or simply look to organisation. And this is all done in a pressure-free environment to give organisations and startups the experience of presenting, of being in front of a panel, and just build that experience for when they do actually face a panel in a pressurised environment. So in addition to these deliverables, we also have an annual cluster conference. And the annual cluster conference offers a day filled with relevant cross-sector presentations from expert speakers with a view for knowledge gain and networking. We're also involved, ScotlandIS are also involved in ScotSoft. It's an annual festival of ideas and innovation that showcase the best of Scottish technology. Across these different types of events, we look to schedule activities on a regular basis, and on average, within the cluster, one of these events will take place between 10 days and a fortnight regularity. So there's always an event for people to be engaging with and to be opening discussions. Next slide, please, Ashley. So, looking at the data cluster. The data cluster is free to join and contains the details of more than 480 organisations across Scotland, capturing, analysing and utilising data. Each listing shows individual organisational capabilities and makes for easy identification for suitable partners and for opening discussions. Within the data cluster, there are a number of areas of specific focus and can be categorised either by the technology employed or the sector of data application. Each has specific activities, but also benefits from the cross-engagement within the other subclusters. Currently, we have the following subclusters as shown here. So we have RegTech, we have, sorry, I've just lost the slide for a second. Apologies. There we are. So we have a number of different categories. We have RegTech, we have AI, we have Geospatial, we have FinTech, LawTech, we have Health Tech, and within the cluster, this list doesn't cover all the organisations, but instead highlights the larger groups and areas of focus. Each of these subclusters has its own identity as a collective, enabling more focused events and discussions, but they also have a collective identity within the data community, and as such are able to engage with other subclusters on a higher level data-specific topics and discussion. Next slide, please, Ashley. So across the cluster, we've developed strategic partnerships in specific areas of concentration and with the intention of being able to engage in more relevant and in-depth conversations for each partner. Currently, with 46 geospatial organisations within the data cluster, we are delighted to have a memorandum of understanding with AGI, as Alan mentioned earlier. And there's significant focus on the development of the geospatial sector. So the memorandum allows the fostering of an environment of collaboration through intelligence. So the sharing of market opportunities for member training and development, sharing of sector data and promoting recruitment opportunities. We have a dedicated skills lead who can assist with vacancies, placements and academia engagements. We look at showcasing, so supporting the geospatial community through events, activities and collaborative projects. We look at community building by profiling across industry and academia to promote constructive discussions. And we look at internationalisation, through collectively working to identify international opportunities and gain access for profiling organisations and projects into the international markets. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide. So ScotlandIS are delighted to be working with Location Data Scotland as a network integrator to promote and develop the geospatial sector. We have a number of specific objectives which align with the activity of the cluster, but which we're able to engage with Location Data Scotland in order to build awareness and to stimulate collaboration. As Ashley mentioned earlier, with the connection of networks, we look to share the activity of our network as part of the progression and development for the geospatial sector. We'll be working together to build communities by supporting and promoting the activities of LDS through engagement with geospatial organisations within the data cluster, including across commerce and academia to promote constructive development of the sector. We'll be creating connections within the data cluster, organisations who may have technologies offering potential application within the geospatial sector, or who may be consumers of geospatial output. Making introductions to cluster organisations who may have knowledge or services to offer the geospatial community, such as communications, data storage, or security. And enabling collaborations through the exposure and promotion on both national and international platforms to the wider digital technologies sector with the full reach of the ScotlandIS network. Next slide, please, Ashley. So, in summary, the opportunity that we have, we're delighted to work with LDS and to be able to share the functioning and the structure of our data cluster with a view to promoting engagement, stimulating discussions, and ultimately improving the development of the geospatial sector. Please find on screen now our contact details. Please don't hesitate to contact me if I can be of any assistance. I'd like to thank you for your time and hope you enjoy the remainder of the launch event. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's great. Thanks very much, David. It's good again to demonstrate how we can all work together in the ecosystem, really to effectively build the strength of Scotland in the geospatial section. So the next section of the agenda is really moving on to exploring a bit more around the comments and the chat that's taken place in the chat box, but also to come back to the poll that we've had running on Mentimeter. I'm just going to pull up my slides now because we have taken some screen grabs from the poll, so I would like to share them with you just now. But whilst they're loading, I'll take the opportunity to comment on some of the aspects that's come through in the chat. So one of the questions was around the advisory group and who's involved in that. So I mentioned that we've got this kind of cross-sectoral and inclusive advisory group that has been formed. So we have representation from the industry. We also have sector representation in terms of transport, travel and tourism, construction, agriculture. I'm trying to think of all the sectors now. And we also have academic representation, local government representation, and then we also have brought in external perspectives as well from out with Scotland, because again we want to learn from others' experiences. So we've brought that into the advisory group as well. We had our first informal meeting last week, and as I say, we'll move into the formal the business matters in April. One of the other aspects that's come through in the chat was around open data, and I know from one of my other projects that I'm working on at the moment, which is for Scottish Cities Alliance, exploring open data. I know that this is a really key and important aspect, and I see in the chat that some of my colleagues from Scottish Government have provided more information on the work that they are doing. But if anyone is interested in the work that we are doing from an open data perspective, then do get in touch, and we'll be having an event later in May, so we might be able to bring you into that and explore the open data aspects in a bit more detail. One of the other things that came through in the chat was around the discussion of clusters, and Liz Grant from Scottish Enterprise has responded to that and explained a bit more around the different activities that are taking place within Scottish Enterprise from a project perspective in terms of them testing if these clusters are viable and how we can take those forward. I think my final point in terms of the chat is that we've asked today about what type of events people would like to see, but actually the level of engagement in the chat today has almost kind of affirmed to myself and the project team at Location Data Scotland that actually maybe what we should be looking at is also some kind of generic networking events where all of you guys that are involved in working in the sector can kind of come together, and we can do that by working in partnership with ScotlandIS and AGI, for example. So these are areas that we will definitely take all of this on board and the learnings from today, and take that forward into our future plan. But as I say, we wanted to use Mentimeter to really kind of gauge the opinion and the perspective from you guys, what would be interesting from a sector perspective. So just to share some of those findings now, so it looks like the construction and climate change sector and environment, and also a kind of generic demystifying geospatial as the areas that are of particular interest. So we'll take all of these on board, but within the other aspects, there's lots of additional factors that have came up around skills, construction, and again we'll take all of those on board and build those in to our future plans. We're more than happy to have this ongoing engagement. As I say, if you have ideas, then please do get in touch with us. We want this community to be here for you. We want it to support you. And we can only do that. I mean, I've emphasised it, and Abigail had said it as well. We need your engagement and we need your support to really make a success of this. It's a fantastic opportunity for Scotland. We have outlined within that third pillar some of the areas of support that we think would be of value to you. But again, please get in touch if there's any other factors of support that you think that would be of benefit, and we can touch upon those elements when we move in to that second pillar of activity around the one-to-one engagement and the relationship that we'll build up with the organisations in this. One of the other aspects that Abigail had raised was engaging with untapped sectors, and that is very much reflective of this network approach that we are taking. We want to reach as broad an audience as we can through Location Data Scotland, and the part of that network approach will help us do that, and particularly working directly with sector and trade organisations so that we can get to those end users who perhaps aren't familiar with the potential of Location Data Scotland or how they could use location data. So again, please get in touch with ideas of how we can engage with untapped sectors. If you are one of those untapped sectors and you want to find out more, please get in touch. My details have been shared within the chat. All my details are also on the website as well. I'm very conscious of the time today because I recognise that there is a minute's silence taking place at 12 to mark the 1 year anniversary of the pandemic. So we want to finish sharp because we want to give everyone the opportunity to reflect on what has been a very unusual year for us all. In terms of our kind of conclusions and next steps, so I see that it's coming through in the chat there. Is the recording going to be made available? Yes, the recording will be made available. It will be on the website later this week. We will also share key messages from the event, and they'll be shared in the LinkedIn group. And as well as that, there'll also be a blog post published on the website, and that will really summarise the event for those who perhaps couldn't come to, or if you want to share that with colleagues, then you can do so. In terms of our next steps, as I say, our focus now is that we'll move into the second pillar of activity and undertake these one-to-one engagement with you all. Again, we really need your support, and we very much want to engage with you, and we're really keen to build this relationship with you, facilitate these introductions and connections. So we will be in touch with more news, more events and more updates. Hopefully going forward we can have some face-to-face and physical events rather than virtual ones, and I know that they work well and they're good, but we really want to get to meet you all, have a cup of coffee, have a chat, and get to know you all better. So I just want to take the opportunity to first of all thank all of the speakers today who have been fantastic. Thank all of you, the audience, who have come along today and shown such enthusiasm for Location Data Scotland. We want your continued support, so we're really delighted with the response that we've had so far. And finally, I would like to take the opportunity to thank the project team. That includes the funding partners, but also my colleagues at Optimat, who have been working considerably hard in the background to make all of this happen today. I see there's more questions coming through around will the chat be captured. Yes, I have a post-it note to remind me to go and take a download of all the chat as well, because there's been lots of interaction in there, so we want to share that all with you. We'll work out how best to share that going forward, but again, we'll communicate via the LinkedIn group and via Twitter. As I say, the recording will be made available on the website, and a blog post will be made available on the website. And for those who have ticked the box to say that we can contact you after the event, maybe that will be the best way for us to share some of that, the dialogue from the chat. But in the meantime, a huge thank you to everyone for taking the time today to come along to meet us all. We're delighted to be managing Location Data Scotland on behalf of the funding partners, and we look forward to getting to know you all better. And on that note, thank you very much again, and we'll speak to you all and hear from you all soon. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.